Looks like it's checked off. Yeah, I think we're good now. Now I just got to make sure that everybody gets on board here, because let me just see if I go here, showing that the video is unavailable. Yep, I got to go back. Let's try this again. All right. Now let's just take a look before. All right. Yeah, I want to make sure that this is on live. As long as we're live. That's all I wanted to find out. And for whatever the reason, my apologies for any inconvenience. I found it. Yeah, I'm hoping everybody else finds it too, because I don't know what's. Again, I got that duplicate. And Jay, yes, I'm glad you found it. I hope everybody else hops on board, because, yeah, I'm going to have to get in touch with the people there at StreamYard. That's right. I'm shouting you guys out, because when I originally scheduled this live stream, for some reason I get duplicates. I'm only doing it once here, also through my Facebook page as well. But considering on YouTube it only goes once, and then for whatever the reason it's showing up as a duplicate, so therefore I take the one out, and now it's saying that, oh, it's been removed, but I still see the other one there on my channel. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's happening here. I may have to resend this link out. Hold on one second. I know this is starting off in not the way, shape, form that I wanted to. No, we don't want to do that. That's not. Hold on one second, guys. So, yeah, unfortunately, this is what the start of this live stream. And I've been chomping at the bit, considering. Let's just make sure that this is the right one. Hold on, guys. Yes, I'm bouncing around here on my YouTube page just to make sure. And it's taking a little bit longer than it should, of course, because obviously I'm on live and I'm trying to do my best to make sure that this is. All right. Yep, that's going on. That's fine. All right. I know you guys are on. I just want to make sure everybody else is on. So I got to get this link out, which is an issue right at this very moment. Let's see if I do this. Hold on. Ready for this? I got to go to the trusty, rusty phone. Oh, look at that. I'll get to that a little bit later there, Jay, because I know you sent me a text. But, of course, I was in preparation for this. And look, and as it is right now, I'm doing this. Not happy with the way this is starting off, but let's see what we got. Excuse me. Yeah, I just want to make sure people, I don't even know if it's still on my, hold on one second. I just want to make sure that this is off and running, that we're not having any glitches, that I want to make sure that when I go to the page, all right, let me refresh that. This is going to be the big test right here. Yeah, it says videos were removed by the uploader. Ah, brother. I know you found me after a while. There, it's showing live there. Hold on. As I'm looking at it right now, look at this. I know you found me after a while. There, it's showing live there. Hold on. As I'm looking at it right now, look at this. I don't want it to duplicate. All right, I'm just going to go with what we have here, guys. My apologies. Hopefully, moving forward, I see 6 people there. The Miles, I see you. What's going on there, Miles? Thanks for hopping on board. Happy thanks or pre-Thanksgiving to you. Jay, no worries, stuff happens. Yes, I know you sent me that text, but I was in the middle of just trying to get my setup and all these other things. So, yeah, my apologies for not following up. I'll take a look at that, too, and I'll follow up on there. That's what it said on my side, too. Yeah, I don't know. And I see, wow, more people getting on board. Thank you so much for finding your way to get on here, because I had some technical difficulties to start. And for whatever the reason, this is not the way that the commencement of this live stream should have been. So hang on there. For those who are on board, I appreciate you stopping by, carving out precious time out of your day to listen to what it is I have to say. All right, so now let's get to it. Now, first and foremost, again, it is Thanksgiving Eve. Whatever it is that you're going to be doing, I'll talk about this at the back end as well. But I hope you have safe travels. I hope that you enjoy your upcoming holiday. I hope wherever it is that you're going, whether it's across the country, across the world, even across the street for that matter, I hope that You have a happy, healthy, and safe one. Don't overindulge because obviously you have the whole day to eat. Not that that gives you license to just stuff your face. But then again, that's what it's all about, I guess, to a certain degree. But even more importantly, and I need to stress this because I understand that tomorrow is the one day that we do give thanks. But you know what? It's an overstatement because we should be doing that every day. We should be grateful. We should be thankful. We should be just showing gratitude and the blessings that we've had. So I get it that tomorrow is the designated day to do so. And if I even tried to unpack what the holiday means for certain people, I mean, of course, that's just a whole other set of encyclopedias. But every day should be Thanksgiving. So just be thankful that we're all here together, that we're on this live, that we could go back and forth and talk and get into it. So I'll just leave it at that because, you know, I could babble. And, of course, whomever's in the chat room, please, as you saw there earlier with Miles and Jay, please leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to post it up there, as we'll do that throughout the course of the next, I would say, 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. We'll see. And obviously, for those who are not watching this live, that are going back to the replay, still leave a comment. I'll be able to follow up. No ifs, ands, buts, babies about it. And let me see. I'll get to these few comments right now. Let's see. That's what it said on my side, too. I know Jay had said that. Am I the only one in this video? No, you have been joined by others. There was 15, then there were 9. Now we're down to 4. I found the one with Miles. Yeah, so I don't know. My man Tatsuya, yes, happy holidays to you and happy Thanksgiving. I know we'll talk about the Met trade, too. So, and I think you got my take on that. I don't know if you did. Yes, Jay, thanks. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Yeah, I see the room is bouncing up and down, which is fine. The more the merrier, everybody. Hop on board. It's going to be a good time. So let's get right to it. Throughout the course of this live stream, I'm going to talk NFL to start, but at the bottom of the hour, we have a special guest join me to discuss not only Ohio State, Michigan, which will take place on Saturday at the Big House, but we'll touch on a little college football, actually maybe a lot, whether it's between my guest and myself or we'll just probably strictly talk Ohio State, Michigan, because if you've been a part of this live stream over the course of the last, whatever it is now, 7, 8, 9 months, you know that there's only one super fan when it comes to the Wolverines, and he will join me at the bottom of the hour. Yes, none other than J-Rod the Damager. But I also want to touch on all the other college football that's going to take place, a little bit of NBA, some NHL, not much going on there. Major League Baseball, the big trade, of course. I also want to get into my schedule for next week because I didn't have a podcast on Monday. I'm not going to have a podcast tomorrow with it being a holiday, and I'm going to be traveling into Jersey tomorrow, probably as early as noon, and I got to cook tonight and into tomorrow. So I got that going on. And then as far as Friday, I am thinking of doing a podcast pregame Friday. Just keep that in mind. 9:30, just to kind of talk about the games there tomorrow and set us up for the weekend. And then I'm going to talk about the schedule next week because that is going to be a little bit dicey, but that's not going to stop me, or at least try to stop me. We'll see what's going to happen. Obviously, this week was a bit of a different story, which I could expound on and touch on later. And then also I have a commentary video that's going to be released tomorrow on the channel, 10 a.m. So you definitely got to keep your eyes peeled for that. And this is something I've actually talked about in the weeks past, where now it's going to come to fruition, where I'm going to put forth what that next video is going to be. So a lot cooking here over the course of these next 2 hours. So let's go. Tomorrow, Thanksgiving, the games. There you see it right there, the graphic. Green Bay, Detroit's the first game at 1 o'clock, followed by Kansas City at Dallas, which is going to be a ginormous rating. It's probably going to get anywhere between 40 to 50 million people watching. And then you have the nightcap, Cincinnati, Baltimore, which I understand that not a lot of fanfare to that game, but there will be a return, at least as of right now, of Joe Burrow. So that could make the game at least a little bit compelling, interesting, and maybe even competitive from that standpoint, considering that the Bengals season is already out to sea. But as far as these games tomorrow, you couldn't ask for, we'll say, 2.5 big games. Green Bay, Detroit, we saw what they did this past week, where Green Bay and Detroit were both successful in winning. Detroit had to win by the hairs of their chinny chin chin against the Giants, as you know, which obviously was not an easy game for them. And they were trailing pretty much most of the game. And then they were able to win in overtime. And Jahmyr Gibbs, the guy who is electric, and he's not underrated. But when you think about the running backs in the league, everybody's going to say, of course, Jonathan Taylor, who's going to be one of the guys in the discussion for the MVP this year. Although right now you have to give it to Matthew Stafford. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts, babies about it. Saquon Barkley, we all know what he did last year. This year, what he had, 22 yards there the other day. And that was just putrid for them to fold the way they did in the second half the Eagles that was against the Cowboys. And right now, they are the 2 seed in the conference where the Rams have leapfrogged over them with their win there Sunday night against Tampa. So you have a scenario where the Lions right now against the Packers, their division rivals, remember in week 1, they lost to them up in Green Bay. So now let's see if they can exact some revenge against the Packers. And the Packers this past Sunday, they were victorious and keeping themselves afloat. As the Packers, I even forgot who they beat the other day. Who did they? Minnesota. That's right. So they beat up on the Vikings there in their building. So now you're going to have a 1 o'clock clash where previously, I remember that game used to start at 12:30. Maybe in the last couple of years, they changed the time frame considering that from 1 and then 4:30. But I remember it used to be 12:30, 4:15, and then 8:15 was a nightcap. But I guess they moved it all up to where it's now 1, 4:30, and 8:15, I believe. But for Green Bay, Detroit, now I think for the Lions, this game, with them being in their building, it's a lot bigger for them. They've been up and down here over these last few weeks. You have to wonder whether or not that if they lose this game, I still think they'll make the playoffs, but you don't want to be in a scenario where you have a team that's already ahead of you in the division, that being the Bears, as they're currently 8-3. But you also have the Packers with that tie that they had against Dallas, and their record 6-3-1. They're already ahead of them in the standings. So the last thing they need is to lose to Green Bay here, where they got to have to overtake 2 teams in the division. And although they do have the Bears down the road, which is going to be fascinating to see how that unfolds, but tomorrow, that game is more important for the Lions to win than for Green Bay. Green Bay, because of that tie, and I understand that for the division, it's going to be tricky because the Bears, I believe both Green Bay and Detroit. Well, I know Green Bay for sure. They still have to play them twice. The Lions do play the Bears late in the year, but they beat them in week 2. So Green Bay, even if they were to lose, they'll still be in decent shape because they'll only be 1 loss behind the Bears in the division because they are, 6-3-1 right now. Or are they? Let me double check their record. I should know that. Well, maybe they're 6-4-1. As of right this very moment, no, the Green Bay Packers in the AFC North are 7-3-1. So even if they were to lose, and they're technically a half game behind the Bears, they would still be in decent shape. Whereas the Lions at 7-4, not to say they can't afford to lose, but that would be a brutal game if they lost in their building. I think the Lions will find a way. Jordan Love, like I told you, he's a guy that hasn't been able to beat these teams. I understand he beat them in week 1, but that was when they just got Micah Parsons, and the Packers, I'm sure, were flying coming out of the gate in their building to start off the year. But when you have a scenario where the Lions are going to have to probably play a little bit more desperate, game in their building, tradition unlike any other, especially in that city when it comes to having this game, the early game on Thanksgiving, I think they'll win a close game. I could see it being down to the wire. Last team who has the ball, 27-24, 26-23. I could see it being that type of game where the Lions will prevail and pull it out. Now, the second game is fascinating because of what transpired on Sunday, where the Cowboys came from behind to beat the Eagles. And the same can be said for the Chiefs and what they did to the Colts. And the Colts had them on the ropes, but they went 3 and out like 100 times in the second half. And then they decided to take the ball in the second half of that game on Sunday, where they probably should have kicked off and had the extra down. Because remember, the overtime rules, both teams get the ball. So it's not like, oh, we got to possess the ball first. Because as they did, they went 3 and out, and their offense was stale, as you saw. But for the Chiefs, now that they are still on the outside looking in, the AFC playoff picture, but this game, I believe, is more important for Kansas City win than Dallas. Now, Dallas, I get it. They don't want to fall under 500 again. Remember, they were 3-5-1. They won their last 2 games, and now they're back at 500. And they play well on Thanksgiving in that building. That's not to say they're indestructible or they're a team that is impossible to beat in that building, because we've seen them lose games at home on Thanksgiving. But considering that it is Patrick Mahomes, considering that it is a team that obviously is looking to do some big things in a conference that has a lot of teams ahead of them. And we know we cannot count the Chiefs out by any means necessary. But you also have to think with the way the Cowboys have played and how they've done on offense. Now, defense will scare you a little bit. Where the Chiefs defense is better and probably will play a little bit better, you would think, come tomorrow, as they didn't start off the game against Indy on Sunday that way. But I think this is going to be a game where Mahomes, I'm not going to say he's going to throw the ball all over a lot, but I would not be surprised if he's going to get out of the hash marks to try to get first downs. Isaiah Pacheco is going to be back in the lineup, so how effective he's going to be, that remains to be seen. And I think this could be a game. I think the Chiefs are going to find a way. I know that the Chiefs, again, every game from here on out is going to be a playoff game. And I said this on the podcast last Thursday, where if they would have lost that game on Sunday, it would have been done for the playoffs. They wouldn't have made it. And now that they have kept their season afloat, I think if they win this game, they're going to be in better shape. That's not necessarily there's going to be a guarantee that they're going to clinch an AFC spot. But the last thing they want to do is fall apart here to where they take that one step forward and then go two steps back. And all the Cowboys are good in that building, and I'm sure they're going to be competitive, and I'm sure Dak will have a big game. But I think the Chiefs, although they're not a team like 3 years ago where they could score in the 30s with the blink of an eye, they're probably going to struggle unless they're going to get some defensive touchdowns or, who knows, something on special teams. But I think the Chiefs will win a game where maybe they'll go away late their fourth quarter, or it'll be a situation where they have a big enough lead, Dallas comes back, but they fall short. So maybe somewhere along the lines like 28-23, 27-21 Chiefs. I could see it being that type of game where the Chiefs will have the game in hand late, and maybe Dallas tries to make a run or tries to make a play to either go for a tie or try to take the lead, but fall short. Cheers, H2O. Nah, not coconut water. I didn't buy any. So, Fishing Angels, if you're watching, I'll get to the screen in a second with the comments. Sorry, I'm back to regular water. So that's the second game. And in the third game, listen, I'm hoping for the Bengals to win as a Steeler fan. And with Joe Burrow coming back, that's the story. I know Lamar Jackson's been nicked up. He has not been the same player as far as him being as mobile and going out of the pocket. And that's the one thing. If you're the Bengals, you want to keep him in that pocket. Now, Trey Henderson's not going to play, which is going to be a huge loss on their defense as far as trying to get any rush on the two-time MVP. But I think as much as a lift that the Bengals will get with Burrow back, although their playoff hopes, mathematically, they're still alive. But come on. They're, 3-8? So you can forget about that. But I would think Burrow's going to look at his team and say, hey, let's see what we can do here. We just got to win one. Hopefully we can try to win a few more along the way. And the schedule isn't as bad. They still play Cleveland. They play Miami. They're done with Pittsburgh. I know they have another easy game, a couple of more easy games on the schedule off the top of my head as I'm trying to think. But for Burrow, I don't know how much rust he's going to have to shake off. And again, remember, that's a toe. I'm sure the Ravens are going to try to blitz big time to see how that toe is going to respond, whether or not he's going to be able to scramble out of the pocket or at least just shift in between the rush. I can see the Ravens winning this game. I'm not impressed with their offense. Their defense has actually gotten better here over the weeks, but you could also say, like, well, who they played. And beating up on Cleveland as they did a couple of weeks ago and the Jets, and I get it. And this offense, obviously with Jamar Chase coming back. Now, T. Higgins is not going to play because he suffered that concussion and is in the protocol from the game there on Sunday. But I think this is going to be a Raven victory. They'll find a way. 23-16, 24-17, something along those lines. And the game is in Baltimore, so I think that they're going to keep themselves ahead in the AFC North, where the Steelers have the Bills on Sunday, and we'll see how that goes when we get closer to the weekend. And then you have the game on Black Friday where, as I segue, Black Friday has the Bears and Eagles, and this is going to be a very interesting game for both sides. The Bears, who have they beaten this year? I understand they have 8 wins. You can't throw back those wins, and you can only beat the teams that are in front of you, but they haven't been overly impressive. Now, you could talk about the head coach, Ben Johnson, as well as Caleb Williams, how they've been able to mesh and perform well here. throughout these first 11 games, and you got to give it up. Ben Johnson has done a phenomenal job, and Caleb Williams has kept his team in games and hasn't really imploded. But you also have to think that this game right here is going to be, to me, in my eyes, a true test with the Eagles coming off of a loss where they were up 21-0. And the game is in their building there at the Link. And to have a scenario where if you're going to take the Bears seriously, this is the game. Because their schedule does not get any easier from here on out. They still got to go to San Francisco. They still have to play the Packers twice. They have the Lions coming into their building. So it's not as if this is going to be a cakewalk to an NFC North division championship. And to me, where they stack, now, if they lose a close game, comes down to the wire, and the Eagles win on a last-second field goal, or let's say they get a late touchdown to win the game, all right, fine. I don't think the Eagles are going to embarrass the Bears. When have the Eagles blown anybody out this year? Now, they've won big games, as we've seen, but let's say they win a convincing 27-13 type game where the Bears, after the second quarter, weren't even in the game. You're going to look at the Bears as a fraud. You're going to look at the team that, I don't know too much about them. No bark. You're going to look at this team as one that is not one you're going to take serious. That's all there is to it. No bark. So if you're a Bear fan, you're going to hope to go into the Link there on Friday to be competitive and be in the game in the fourth quarter. And if you lose the game, you lose the game. Now, you don't want it to be a situation where you're in the game in the fourth quarter and all of a sudden Caleb Williams throws 2 picks. That's not going to look good either because it's going to show that he didn't deliver or certainly didn't show up when the money was on the line. But how I look at it is that if the Bears win this game, no matter by 1 point or 50, you may have to take them seriously. And then the other side of that is the Eagles, because after that loss and with all the turmoil, I don't want to say that there's infighting. I'm not going to go as far as saying that, but when you have a situation where you've been front runners the whole year, 1 seed up until this past week where the Rams overtaken you after that loss in Dallas, and all the talk about, Jalen Hurts, he hasn't been able to deliver the ball, he hasn't been able to do this, that, etc. And even the teammates have been saying things about him not throwing balls in tight windows and zone coverage. And I mean, come on, really? Is this what we're going to break down? So how I look at it is that I'm sure the Eagles, even with a short week, but in their building, they're going to not only find a way, but I wouldn't be surprised if they come out flying. Maybe they take the ball if they win the coin toss and march on down the field. Maybe the holes that weren't there for Saquon Barkley, and I understand that their offensive line is nicked up when it comes to the like of the Lane Johnsons and the Landon Dickersons of the world. But you also have to think at some point, this offense is going to wake up and they're going to click. And this would be an opportune time for them to do so, considering that the Bears have played well and they're going in with gas in their tank into the Lincoln Financial Field. So to me, I think it's going to be a very competitive game, but I would not be surprised if the Eagles find a way to just either defensively, as we've seen how good they've been defensively, or better yet, find their mojo on offense to where A.J. Brown gets some catches, he's able to have some big plays, and the Bear defense is not as if it's the 85 Bears. Now, they're very opportunistic when it comes to stripping the ball, fumbling the ball. That goes back to the days of Peanut Tillman. Remember him? Cornerback there in that Bear secondary. So for that team, who I believe they're first in turnovers in the sport, that's what they're going to have to do. They're not a team that has a dominant pass rush or a big-time secondary. And I know Jalen Johnson's been out, who is by far their best offensive back. So how I look at it, from my standpoint, if they're able to get some turnovers, who knows? But you can't predict those. I think the Eagles will win, I won't say comfortably, but I could see it being 24-14, 24-13, and the Bears will find a way to win. The Eagles will find a way, not the Bears. The Eagles will find a way to win that game on Black Friday. Now, let me get to one other thing before I introduce my guest. NFL Week 13 on Sunday, and I'll get to the comments, and then I'll usher in And you already know. I already told you who it is. And it's funny because he goes by the old name, as I see here, which we'll go back and forth on. We'll have a good time, a few laughs. Now, as far as the schedule, Sunday, there are a couple of good games, but here's the problem with the NFL. With all the mouths to feed, you have to have 3 very good games on Thanksgiving. You have to have a presentable game, and this one a very good one, as the NFL and Amazon Prime lucked out, Black Friday. You have Sunday night. You have Monday night. So what does that leave you for? And then the 4 o'clock game, you have to give them a good game, and that one is Buffalo at Pittsburgh, where let's see what the Steelers do. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's going to be back. That is a big game. That could be a game to where whomever loses may not make the playoffs. I think about that. And even though the Ravens and Steelers haven't played one another just yet, and they're currently tied at the top of the AFC North, but the Ravens have the better division record. That's why you see them at the top of the standings. And even though if they were to lose, they'll be a game and a half behind. If they do lose and the Ravens win tomorrow night, so that's something we have to keep in mind, because the following week, then you have Ravens Steelers in Baltimore, which is going to be an enormous game. It's going to be playoff-like down in the Chocolate City. Oh, no, it's D.C., Baltimore. What do they call that? The Ocean City, or whatever it is. So how I look at it is that is, to me, by far, on Sunday, the biggest game, because the Sunday night game is a disaster. Denver-Washington, I mean, please. At that point, you're probably sick of eating Thanksgiving leftovers. The last thing you want to do is look at pumpkin pie, etc. And I would also say avert your eyes by watching that disaster there where Denver goes to the nation's capital. And then your Monday night game is Giants and Patriots, so you're not going to have any visions of Super Bowl 42 and 46 dancing in your head, although if you're a Giant fan, that's all you're going to hang your hat on when you watch that game there on Monday night. But the other games real quick, San Francisco, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Houston, Indy. That's a decent game, considering that Houston has now come back and they're a game over 500. And this is their first of 2 meetings against the Colts this year. And with the Colts now 2 games ahead of them, this is a huge game for Houston. So I got to look at the 1 o'clock windows. That's the best game. And if you want to also match that with the 4 o'clock game or 4:25 game, Buffalo-Pittsburgh, absolutely. You also have the Rams going to Carolina. Now, Carolina, listen, they're not ready for prime time. I get it that the game the other night, if they would have won that game, that would have been enormous. But let's face it, their offense was offensive. They didn't really do anything in the game. And for the Panthers, and they had a good year. Who would have expected that after 12 games to be 500? I didn't. But that was a game that you were hoping that maybe they could be in, and with the break or two that they could have won the game, or at least had an opportunity to win the game. But that was certainly not the case, as they lose. But they're going to host the Rams, and I think the Rams will be due to lose. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose this game. Remember, they're going to fly east, a 3-hour west to east. That could be a problem. And Carolina, who knows? After that performance there Monday night, maybe they could somehow, some way find a way to surprise people and win a game. And the Rams are due to lose a game, so who knows? But that is your NFL schedule. Let me get to the comments real quick, and then I'll introduce my guest. As you know what? A matter of fact, let me just see real quick with the – well, I got 23 comments. All right, comments. You're going to have to hold on there for a second. All right, because I got to usher in my guest. And as you see here, my man, J-Rod. He is a Michigan fan, unlike any other. I haven't met a man that loves his team more than he does. And now let me get it to the big widescreen here. None other than J-Rod the Damager 420. You see him in the chat every week. You see him even in the podcast pre-games on Mondays and Thursdays. Of course, with his loving wife, Fishing Angel, I got to give a shout-out to. Jay, my man, welcome to the live stream. How you doing?
Welcome, everybody.
How you doing?
Go Blue.
I'm sure you're pumped.
Living the dream, man.
Yeah, I hear that. That's good, man. That's good.
Am.
So, what are your thoughts going into this game?
To me, is more important than my own birthday.
Yes, which is toward the end of January. So, and this is obviously a game that I'm sure you've been highly anticipating. Every Michigan Wolverine fan looks toward this game, but even more so with the way the college football playoff is looking like here, Jay. And of course, we'll talk about the game even further, but big picture, knowing that this is a must win if you have any shot to make it into, and of course, you have to wait for the committee, but how do you feel going into this game? I know you've beaten them 4 straight times, and that's great, but I'm sure Ohio State's going to have that little chip on the shoulder knowing that they've lost 4 straight, And obviously they want to continue their perfect season and not have to worry about what's going to happen. They're going to make the playoff, no doubt. But as far as your team goes, how do you feel going into this game? And do you think that they will qualify if they do win this game?
To be completely 100% honest, I would think the Big Ten would be retarded to let Ohio State win Saturday. If Ohio State beats Michigan on Saturday, they get 3 teams in the playoff. If Michigan wins that game, they're guaranteed at least 4.
Right, because it would be them, Indiana, Michigan, and I should know that 4th Big Ten
Oregon.
team. Oh, right, because of course
Oregon.
I always forget Oregon, considering that they just became a part of the Big Ten. But you're right. Now it's going to be interesting too.
Do I
because
feel good about Saturday? No, I don't. But after last year, there's always hope.
Right, because last year nobody expected you guys to win, and obviously you won at Columbus, so that was even more of a surprise there, and how that game unfolded. So, and then how do you think this game's going to play out?
For 3 days after last year.
What's that for 3 days?
My face hurt for 3 days after last year.
Oh, yeah, from all the smiling, I'm sure.
Cheesing so much. Yes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Now, I understand you're feeling a little uneasy about this game come Sunday, but what is it about this game? Is it more that Ohio State, you feel they're going to have that chip on their shoulder, knowing that they're going to want to exact revenge and put whatever playoff hopes that Michigan has pretty much at bay? Do you think it's going to be maybe Bryce Underwood is going to be too much of stage fright for him? How do you feel from your standpoint as to your nerves and what you feel about this game come Saturday?
They have to unleash Bryce to even have a chance and to compete, in my opinion. And they got to tell him, if it's not there, run. They have to, because they're not gonna compete in a shootout. They're gonna get blown out of the stadium.
Yeah, they got to keep the score low. You figure
it's got to be a low scoring Michigan, ground and pound game for them to even have a chance, in my opinion.
Right. So the last thing you'd want is for Ohio State to, let's say, be up by 2 scores third quarter, because then they're going to have to rely on, unless they're going to try to unleash Bryce to run if he doesn't see anything available in the passing game. But I'm sure the last thing you want to see is Michigan trailing, let's say, 21-13 or even 21-10 there early in the third quarter. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
Right. Listen, you don't want to trail to Ohio State at any point of the game, but even more so as you get deeper into the game, and let's say Bryce is, for whatever reason, not effective there early on, and even though he'll have 112,000, including yourself, behind him, but this is going to be the biggest game he's ever played by far, and you'd have to wonder what his psyche, and I'm sure he's going to be pumped up and ready to go, but you have to wonder, once he's under center for that first snap, and who knows what the weather's going to be like, not that that's going to be a factor, but to me, I think that you could argue that
they'll have something to say with it. They're calling for low 30s and wind and snow, so it might have something to do with it.
Right, because again, if it's going to be windy, they're not going to be able to throw the ball over the lot. And the same could be said, of course, for Ohio State
Ohio
as well.
State, shouldn't be able to chuck the ball around the field, and I don't know if Ohio State can keep up if it's a rushing game.
Right, and I
who
think that's
else Ohio State played on the road this year? Nobody.
Who else they played on the road? No, exactly. And no, that's the one thing about the conference as well, because it's weird how a lot of these teams, they should play one another a lot more often, because obviously you're not seeing Oregon play Michigan, and it's just so spread out that we would like to see these teams play one another, and maybe moving forward that will happen. But like you said with Ohio State, I mean, who have they really played? And obviously this is going to be a scenario where going to the big house and knowing that with the recent history of them not being able to beat Michigan, I don't even know if you could say that there's more pressure on Ohio State to win this game, because if they lose, they're going to make it to the playoff. I think Michigan has more pressure if they're trying to get to the playoff, because they need to win this game 100% in order for them to get a bid there as one of the top 12 teams in the nation.
Yeah, Michigan loses, they have no shot to get in the playoff.
Well,
they might get a decent bowl, but they're not getting in the playoff.
Right. And then the other thing is, too, it's going to be fascinating is because even if Michigan wins and they beat Ohio State, now, of course, the argument's going to be for, let's say, teams like Oklahoma, maybe even to a certain extent, Alabama, because let's say if Alabama wins the SEC championship and they're going to look at what Michigan has done, let's say if they do beat Ohio State and how that's going to be a situation where how the committee is going to unpack that, that's going to be fascinating. But what if it does come down to that, where they may take Alabama? You know they're going to take Notre Dame, which I get it, they're Notre Dame, which I don't like, but whatever. But what if it comes down to like everything is chalk, where Oklahoma wins, and, well, obviously they're not going to win because they're going to be a part of the SEC, but let's say Alabama, and I know there's another team I'm missing here, that if they do win, they could have Michigan on the outside looking in. How would you feel about that if it does come to pass that all those other teams win by chalk, including Michigan, but you're on the outside looking in?
I think that would be a disgrace. Michigan or Ohio State's been the number one team besides 2 weeks of the season. That'd be their first loss. That'd be a disgrace to college football, in my opinion. If Michigan beats Ohio State Saturday, they have to get in the playoff. They have to.
Yes, I'm looking here because I know there was another scenario. I know I mentioned Oklahoma, and the only reason why I bring them up is because obviously he had lost to them early this year. But when it comes to, let me see, as I pull up because I know there was another scenario that, of course, if Alabama, if they win the SEC, forget about Miami. Yes, I'm looking here. Yeah, obviously, if Oklahoma loses, you guys would be in good stead because then if you win, there's no excuse there, even though they head-to-head, but they're going to have the 3 losses. There was another scenario. It wasn't Ole Miss. I'm trying to figure that out as we move it along here. But, yeah, obviously they win. They should be in. No ifs, ands, buts, maybes about it. Because just like you said, if you're going to beat the number one team in the nation for the most part all year long and going to be on the outside looking in, and who knows, Alabama, they could lose to Auburn. They always have a tough time when they play there on the road. And I know they won the last time there 2 years ago on that miracle pass by Jalen Milroe. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all unfolds. But now, as far as you, my man, I know that obviously you followed this team forever. You've obviously been to all the big games here over the years. Now, considering that 2 years ago you won, last year we know what happened, but this year, do you feel as if you do make it to the playoff, do you feel like it's going to be a good run, a decent run, or maybe a one and done when it comes to, and of course, we got to see who you're going to play, though. But how do you feel about this team going into the playoff if you do happen to qualify?
I feel it'll be like 2021, like the Georgia game. They'll get destroyed, to be honest with you. I don't think they'll compete in the playoff, but it'd be nice to get back there. But who knows? Absolutely. They could get hot and Bryce could turn into Bryce, and who knows?
Yeah, that's the thing. Obviously, we don't know who they're going to play just yet. But the only reason why I bring that up is because if they're a team that they're probably going to be anywhere between 9 and 12, as we know, obviously they're not going to have a home game. They won't have a bye, of course.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, if they do get in, it'll be a road game. So,
right.
We've seen what they did on the road this year against, ranked good teams. So, who knows? But no, I don't see good things happening if they do make the playoff.
Right, but the thing is that, right, and you never know because of their pedigree, and obviously when you look at Michigan just over these last few years, could they surprise? Could they pull off an upset maybe for one game? They absolutely can, even though I know, like you mentioned, the losses that they've had there on the road this year against the good teams. But I would think that no matter where the game is going to be played, you being the super fan that you are you going to take a trip? If they do make it wherever they play, let's say, I don't know, if they're going to play, because who would be one of those? I mean, again, I can't even predict, but if we were to just take a look to see, for argument's sake, let's say if they were going to play at Ole Miss.
Wouldn't it be crazy to go back to Oklahoma for a playoff game?
No, I wouldn't. I could see that. And if anything, I think that would bode well for
Because in
Michigan
my eyes,
because
that's where it would go. And I mean, if it ended, like it sits this weekend, I think that's where it would go. Would be, they would go back to Oklahoma.
you think they would be as high as 9 then, because that would be your 8-9 matchup.
Well, I think they would be from 9 to they would have to be from what 9 to 11
12.
because 12 is what the I for the
Yeah, 12 would. Yeah, 12 would be the non-5.
they call it. 9.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Right.
So yeah, they would have to be anywhere from 9 to 11.
9 to 11, yes. So right, that could be Oklahoma. It could be Ole Miss, Texas Tech,
Group of
but that would be
5,
something.
that's what I was looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, did you make a good point there with Oklahoma? Because if they do go as high as 9, and I understand sometimes rematches, they try to avoid that. And I would think the committee would probably not do that, considering that we've seen them play. And even though I think that would bode well even for Michigan, knowing that they lost there earlier this year, that if they do happen to match up there in the first round, I think that would be a positive for them, not necessarily a negative, but I don't think the committee's going to do that. I think that they're going to want to try to put a matchup where the two teams have not played one another. So therefore, I could see them maybe putting them as high as 10 if Oklahoma stays there. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I get the whole repeat and all that crap, but I mean, there's 12 teams now. There might not be a situation where they can avoid it.
Right. It just depends on where the committee's going to put them. And that's why, to me,
where teams fall and, But
No,
I
100%.
do get what you're saying. It's about money, who wants to see a game that they seen, earlier in the season. But I will say that, Michigan's a way different team than they were in that game against Oklahoma early in the season.
Right, because that was that game I believe was late September? I want to say that was week 4?
Week 2.
Oh, that was the second week. That's right. I remember it being September. I thought it was later, but you're right. That was week 2. I happened to be in Brooklyn that night. I remember. Wow, that was already. Geez.
Bryce Underwood's first road start, second career start. So, I mean, they're a way different team now. But, yeah, I do get, what you're saying with the whole repeat thing. And, it's all about views and money now. We've had this conversation many times.
Yes, sir. No, 100%. And as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, because I know you had sent me, we can actually talk about that now. If it was in reference to you're talking about the Lions with Dave Montgomery. Exactly. No, because I wanted to respond to that, but I didn't know if that was a Lions thing or even a Michigan thing. We can talk about the Lions in a moment, but as far as then wherever that game may be, because I know in the past, obviously in the most recent past, you've gone and traveled to watch your team perform not only in semifinals, but of course in the national championship. So if they do make it in, no matter who they play, are you going to follow your team to that destination and watch them in that first round?
The hat on top of my head right now was worn by a player or a coach on the field at the national championship game. But
look at that.
I do have a certificate of authenticity for it too. Probably paid way more than I ever would for any other hat in my life, but I did it and I wear it a lot, as you can see.
But it was worth it though.
Absolutely.
No, that's awesome, man. That's good. So I would think that then no matter where it is, whether it is at Ole Miss, if you got to go to Mississippi, or if you're going to Oklahoma, or who knows, you may even go to Texas Tech.
If it's close, maybe, but I'm not traveling out west or something like that. No, that's too much.
Right.
And with what I got going on, personally in my health, probably not this year.
Right, which I know we got to talk about that offline because I know we haven't discussed that. But anyway, as far as then, well, let me ask you this.
I don't care, man. Go ahead. You want to talk about it? Talk about it. I got a horrible destroyed back that's, bothering my nerves and my shoulders and neck now, No,
I hear you.
It is what it is.
No, of course. But no, even more so because I know you've had the situation with your respiratory system and obviously had not been feeling well and just trying to snap out of that. I mean, you sound pretty good. And this is the first time I'm actually talking to you. So it's a pleasure to do so. And I know you've been fighting colds and things of that nature. How's your health in that regard?
I've been doing all right. Doing all right.
All right, good. Yeah, no, you sound sound fine to me, even though this is the first time, unless I heard you coughing and sneezing and all that. But no, I'm glad that you're feeling a lot better in that regard. But I know you've had the neck and back issues, which obviously have been super rough. And I know you talked about this with me earlier today. So for you being in the building there on Saturday, high noon, 112,000, Blue and Mays will be fully represented. You have to stand throughout the whole game because sitting down it's not even an option, considering that it is Ohio State, etc. Can you explain to me and everybody else that's on right now what the atmosphere will be like, what your experience has been like going to an Ohio State-Michigan game in that building with just over 100,000 fans in participation?
As somebody that suffers through back pain, probably I'll say my average back pain is maybe a 7. I won't feel a thing the whole game. I'll have consequences after, but I won't feel anything during the game.
Right, because you're just going to be pumped up, ready to go, etc. Now, I know you mentioned to me, right. Now, I know you mentioned to me, what was it, a couple of years ago when they ran onto the field, and I remember that game and you also mentioned that you did. You got to kind of take me through how that happened. Like, how far up were you sitting? Did you have to go down, 30 rows and then hop over the wall and do all that? Explain to me how that experience was.
I just remember going, man, to be honest with you.
Won the game, and that's
that
it.
Was
you kind of blacked out.
long, miserable 9 years. So it was kind of like blackout moment, man, to be honest with you. You know, you just see people and then you're like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah. Now, of course, I know the police, they can't do anything about that. So they just, once it starts to die down, they just usher you out of the building? Or is it a situation where after 10 minutes, and obviously the teams in the locker room, they're already pushing you guys out?
There was people there for hours, man.
Oh, is that right?
There was people there for hours getting picked out. Yes.
Wow. See, I can't relate to that. And I know you and I have talked offline about this.
9 years is a long time of misery, man.
Oh, no. Exactly. Please, especially with that rivalry. 100%.
And actually, to be frank and upfront, we only had one victory before 2021, and what was it, 16 seasons?
Wow.
From 24 to 2021, we won one time.
Yeah, that's a long time, especially for your school, for Michigan to have that type of performance throughout that span. Yeah, that's almost, that's unheard of. And rightfully so, to run on the field the way
Lloyd
you did.
Pryor got his one win against Jim Tressel and just couldn't get it done again. That's why he lost his job. Yep. And obviously the Rich Rodriguez happened. He never had a shot. Brady Hoke never had a shot. And to be real with you, if Urban Meyer never would have left Ohio State, I don't think he ever would have lost to Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. And then he went to Jacksonville. We know what happened with him, and obviously he hasn't been heard from since. So now,
yeah, Jacksonville, I don't think anybody will touch him with a 10-foot pole now.
After what happened there.
College or
yeah. Now, so come Saturday, I know the building's going to be electric, and I'm sure once kickoff, etc. But besides yourself, just to kind of take the temperature for, not to say you're going to speak for all Wolverine fans, but are they cautiously optimistic about this game? Are they feeling confident, overconfident? What's your take on that?
It's Michigan, Ohio State, man. There's always nerves.
Right.
Always. If you think you're going to walk out on the field and beat Ohio State just from showing up, you're full of shit and you're not a true Michigan fan, because that's not how it works.
Right. You got to be objective, which is good. Which is good, because a lot of fans these days, it's, their team and nobody else. And of course, I understand you're going to root for them and want them to win, but to the point where they're going to, oh yeah, we're playing in our building, we're going to romp, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's like, all right, enough, because
I'm die-hard Michigan. I bleed it and breathe it, but I'm still going to call it as I see it. I'm still going to be real.
Absolutely. And that's important, because people aren't going to take you seriously if you're just going to break out the pom-poms every 5 seconds and think that your team's going to win no matter who you play against, whether it's Ohio State or, Appalachian State. Not to bring up bad memories for you there, Jay, but it's one of those things where, right, you're going to take a realistic look at this game. Obviously, you know what the stakes are and how it's going to play out. Right, you're hoping to win, but at the same time, you're not going to go in there thinking, oh, the game's at home. We won 4 in a row. We got the number. And you're just going to come out victorious as if it's just a regular homecoming type game in the early part of September. So, no, I hear that, and that's good. And I'm glad that you look at it from that perspective. Now, one other thing about the game. So, of course, I know nerves, etc., but when you have so many people in that stadium, I'm sure it's got to be a pain to get in and get out. It's not like if you're going to – now, I don't know. Obviously, I've never been, and it's a situation where I've never even been to a college football game ever because college football obviously isn't big in these parts where I live. But how tough is it to get in and out knowing that I'm sure it's the stadium and I'm sure the surrounding area in Ann Arbor, there's got to be – maybe there's nothing there, maybe there's something there, but do you have to get there like at 8 in the morning and leaving the stadium? Does it take you forever? How does that work on a not only just on a Saturday basis, but on a day where Ohio State, once every other year when they come in, what is that like?
It's bananas, man. Like you said, Ann Arbor's not a crazy big town. It's her city. It's really not. It's smaller than Detroit, and Detroit's not a crazy huge city. Right. And you put 110,000 that's going to the game, plus everybody else that's tailgating and partying outside. It's crazy. So you just got to be patient, man. Walk. That's the best thing I can say. Walk.
Right. Now,
park a few blocks away from the stadium and walk.
Right. Now, how early will you get there? I'm sure you get there early for every game. I know you've said that to me, but because it's Ohio State, do you even get there earlier because it's going to be crazy, or regular time for you?
It's going to be cold, so I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I think if the game starts at noon, I'm sure you probably get there, as early as 8 a.m.? That's just a guess.
And I'm thinking, obviously Big Noon will be there, and I think game day is going to be there too, and I don't want no part of that crap. So
right, yeah, it's
probably just show up and go in.
All right, no, that's good. So no tailgating, none of the extracurricular stuff before the game.
No, maybe after, depending on how it goes.
Right. Now, I'm also curious, do any Ohio State, I'm sure they probably have tickets for a few of the, I was going to say players, but maybe for students, or is it a thing where there isn't any sign of gray and red in that building when it comes to Ohio State?
No, that's mandatory, man. For every college football game, the visiting team has to have X amount of tickets.
Right. So, and of course, I guess they get a section, not an entire section, but maybe just a certain spot. Oh, okay. All right. So there will be a few. Oh, no, that makes sense. I figured they just couldn't shut them out completely. But I was just curious because even though watching from afar, I haven't really paid attention to it until prior to our discussion, because I'm thinking, wait a minute. Because I could almost see that Michigan, no, we don't want anybody from Ohio State coming in here. But yeah, it does make sense that they actually have to have, for it to be a mandate to have some of the, whether it be faculty or students, et cetera, to show up in the building. And generally, it's usually, despite how nasty this rivalry is between the two schools, but with the fans, does it get unruly? Does it get crazy?
I believe that's what it is, man, is X amount of tickets go to, the opposing team's student section and, or for students, and they do what they do with them, sell them to fans or whatever the case may be. Right. Or go to the game. Who knows?
And is it usually peaceful between the fans? So whatever Ohio State fans do, I'm sure they're not coming.
No. Hell no. It's Ohio State, man. No. Absolutely.
No, but do they go? No. Right. No, I understand that, because I'm sure once you see their colors, like for instance, not that I would ever do this, even though once upon a time I did do this. That's like me going to the Yankee Stadium wearing Met colors.
People don't walk around and, jump up in your face and Ohio State sucks, Michigan sucks, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, there's respect there, but not respect. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's good. Yeah, there's a healthy respect. All right. No, because listen, again, that's a Hatfield and McCoys. So I don't know if somebody were to be brave enough to, let's say they're going to wear an Eddie George throwback and they happen to go to the game. And right, I'm sure they're going to get heckled, but not to the point where, right, people are going to run up to your face, not your face, but people are going to run up to that guy.
Yeah, no, they're not going to get assaulted or, accosted or something. They might
Right.
get some words they're not going to like, but that's about as far as that's going to go.
No, that's good. No, all right, no, and that's healthy. I like that, and that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be a thing where, people are going to be up, and especially let's say during a tailgate where somebody's walking through the parking lot and guys and gals are getting tanked, and next thing you know, it's like whatever. Then it gets personal. I know we talked about that with other sports, but interesting. I mean, that's a game where obviously it's going to start off the Saturday, even though of course you're going to have games there on Black Friday when it comes to college football, but I'm looking forward to it. Now, I know I'll be around. Thankfully, it's early enough. I got some things I got to do later in the afternoon, so I hope to watch every snap. And hopefully nothing comes up because my weekend's going to be relatively, other than tomorrow and a little bit Friday, should be quiet. But, yeah, so that's going to be an all-day affair for you, considering that from pretty much morning and depending on how the day goes, if Michigan does win, I'm sure that's going to be a situation where it's probably going to go into the maybe not wee hours, but into the evening hours, especially if Michigan wins there on Saturday. Is that right?
Oh, I won't lie. They lose, I'll be butthurt. I won't listen to or look at probably any kind of college football, nothing for a couple days. But if they win, I probably won't. I'll probably watch the rest of every college football game when I get home till I go to bed.
Right. No. Understood. No, listen, please
look up every analyst and look up all the fans crying and whining. You know how it is, man.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, it makes sense. No, that's good, Jay. And listen, while I have you on here, let me go through some of these comments because they've just been piling up here. So I'm going to go back. We'll have some fun with this as we move it along, and then I'll get to some other things. Hold on a second here. Oh, I see some names here I'm not familiar with. This should be interesting. Hold on. I found the one with Miles. Yeah, happy holidays. Tatsuya, of course. That's, of course, that was your last comment there for Jay. The real Don Grillo. Dak is the most electrifying person in sports history. Electrifying. All right, if you say so. Uh-oh, video froze. Oh, the other video. I know. Now I'm going back on these, so way more important for the Lions than the Packers tomorrow. Absolutely, Jay. You're on top of that. Oscar Madrid Mendoza, remember you. I don't know. That's not a name to easily forget, that's for sure. But Oscar, welcome aboard. Jay's dog's barking. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, I know. She's quiet now, but yeah, she was acting up there. Val, what's happening? I appreciate that. Fishing Angel, hello. What is happening? Yes, everybody saying hello, which I love. All the love in the room. Whoop, hang on. I scrolled up a little bit too fast. Thank you, Val. Much appreciated. Yes, Val. Thank you. Thank you. BioZio, my man, out in L.A. All right, here we go. I'm here. Football games tomorrow. Yes, Val. All right, here we go. Bio. Feeling pretty good to be an LA sports fan right about now. I mean, does it get any better? Geez, the Lakers are on fire. Obviously, the Dodgers won back-to-back. The Rams are tops in the NFC. I mean, geez, what are the Kings doing? Are they doing pretty well? I guess they are. I tell you, let's see. Draymond probably today against Rockets. Yeah, I know. We talked about Draymond earlier this week with Kenyon Martin. That's nuts. Mr. Jazz game foot sprain. All right, here we go. I don't see the Lions win this Thanksgiving. Fishing Angel, why is that? Is that right? Tatsuya showing love. Michigan Fab Five. Oh, we're going to go way back there. Tatsuya, can you name the Michigan Fab Five is? I'm sure you're able. You're close to my age. Sometimes people get stumped by that when they talk about the Fab Five because they can name three of them off the bat. The other two sometimes are tricky for a lot of people who don't watch or follow college basketball. I'm not going to ask you that, Jay, because I'm sure you know. But
I don't have the other two.
Oh, is that right?
I got the main three.
Right, no, the first three.
I can't. It's right on the tip of my tongue, but I don't have it.
Yeah, it's Jimmy King, who was a guard, and Ray Jackson.
I knew it was King. I couldn't get it.
Yeah, Jimmy King and Ray Jackson.
Then the other three are easy, obviously. Jalen Rose, Dwayne Howard, and Chris Webber.
Yes, sir. Exactly. All right, here we go. Why Fishing Angel? They're not great in Thanksgiving games. I know. She's down on the Lions tomorrow, huh? Bio saying what's up to you there, J-Rod. They lost last time. I have no faith in the Lions. Who did they play last year? I should know this.
Lions won Thanksgiving last year.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't play the Vikings.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Fishing Angel doesn't have hope.
She don't. I'm telling you, she's a Packers fan.
Oh, that's right. I always forget. You are correct. I always think because of the connection. I think of Michigan, Detroit.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. She loves the Packers. So look at that. My age. Showing my age there, Fishing Angel. And to you too, Jay. I should have known that. Let's see. Oh, even Bio. I hate Ohio State too. Yeah, I could care less about Ohio State.
Me too, Bio. Thank you.
I'm on break from college this week. Good for you, Val. Michigan will win. Yeah, I'm rooting for them. Who cares about Ohio State? They won last year. And yes, I'm with you on that. 49ers won. Warriors won on Monday. 49ers playing Cleveland. That's going to be interesting. I see Myles Garrett get 100 sacks. Michigan is winning no matter what. Wait, I see you have a new emoji there. That looks pretty interesting. I know I got to enlarge that. Hold on a second. I got to see what that looks like there because, wow, I kind of like that. Was that the one that she's always had there, Jay? I don't even know. For some reason, it looks like a different avatar.
I don't know. She's at work today, and she's been there all morning. So,
oh, is that right?
I'm not really sure. Yeah.
All right. Happy anniversary to you guys. Not a wedding anniversary, but it's the date anniversary, I guess. So I got to shout you guys out for that.
The teenager she watches didn't have school all week, so she's got them all
right?
today.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, let's see where we're at here. Giants. San Francisco. Oh, Ryan Walker. Is that what you're talking about, Val? Okay. Giants, 30 years old. Michigan, all the way, gold blue. Yes. Zip. My man, I think the person on Ohio to lose a fifth straight. Yeah, that would be 100%. I totally agree. Val. What do you got there? Trey Smith out. Elijah Moore. Jair Brown. Look at this. Val is like my update guy here. I like that. All right, my score prediction is going to be Michigan 35, the other team 10. Watch, you won't even mention Ohio State. She just says the other team. 35-10.
That's my wife.
How do you feel? What do you think? If you had to predict there, Jay, what do you think's the final?
Let's say 27-24, Michigan. Field goal as time expires.
Yeah, I can see it being close. I'd be shocked if it's 35-10. Definitely.
I'd be elated, but I would be shocked.
Oh, yeah, no, you feel like you'd sign for that in blood if they told you that was going to be a given. I'd sign for it in blood for you.
I'd be doing backflips if it was 35-10.
Oh, no, absolutely. Let's see. After signing veteran Brandon Cooks, the Bills have released Elijah Moore. Oh, so that's where they got that from. All right, Val. Look at Val's giving me all these updates here. Malcolm Rhodes, 3-year extension. Look at this. What is this here? Luke Wattenberg. Val, I appreciate it. By the way, I joined late. Happy you're here. Well, listen, I'm glad you're here, Val. You know, obviously you're a big-time supporter and obviously a big part of this live stream as you are all the time. All right, here we go, Bio. Oh, wait, Fishing Angel. What was that? Oh, awesome. I'm over here jumping around here. I'm late. Yeah, awesome. I want to make sure I get everybody's comments here. We got to get to the college football game. Apparently, I know. And the funny thing is that I guess I could, I don't know, maybe should I reveal this? I guess it's no big deal. But because I don't have a college football team, and I know that Jay was saying, well, hey, trying to get me to be a Michigan fan.
We got to get you to a Michigan game, man, and that changes. I'm telling you.
Yeah. And he actually invited me to go out Saturday. But, of course, timing and all that. And, of course, you know, me, yours truly, still trying to hustle here on the side. Unable to do so. But definitely next year, man. And early on, I know we talked about that. Yeah, I mean, just to try to take in that atmosphere and to see what that's like. And just like Bio said, the pageantry and et cetera. Yeah, I've never experienced that. And that's, as a sports fan, I got to experience that. And why not? To go to the big house. I mean, that is, listen, I understand it may not be South Bend, Notre Dame, but because a lot of people will look at that as the place to go as far as college football goes. But Michigan, they don't need to take a backseat to anybody. So I would think that would be the best place for me to usher myself in as a college football visiting a college football town and to watch a first game there in Michigan.
Winningest program in college football history, sir.
Yeah. Nah, you go back a zillion years. And even though I know you have some people from Notre Dame will say elsewhere, you know, they'll talk about it from a different perspective because they'll think New Rockney. They'll
They're
think
trying to bring it back earlier. They're
What's
trying
that?
to
They're
bring back the Notre Dame game earlier than what it's
as they
scheduled
should.
for.
Yeah, I don't
They
know why they
should.
thought. Yeah,
Never should've went
100%.
away.
Yeah, I don't know why they stopped doing that. Yeah, that's and as a matter of fact, yeah, they I don't even know when. Are they're not going to play in the next couple of years, are they?
No, I think it was like 2035 or something retarded.
Yeah, somewhere down the road. Yeah, that's a disgrace.
2033 or something.
Yeah, I mean, why are they going to wait? What, 8 years? Yeah, that's they should be playing every year. They usually played what, like the second or third week of the year. I mean, that was perfect. So, but
yeah,
that's college football for you.
Michigan played a cupcake, and then they played Notre Dame.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't see why.
That's how it worked until 20. Yeah. I think they switched it around 2014. I want to say.
And look at that. That's over a decade. Jeez, it's been that long. Like we say, the time flies. I tell you. What do we have
the
here?
last time we played Notre Dame in football was 2019.
Oh, that's right. We did talk about that. Yeah, 2019. And even then, 6 years.
That was like the middle of the season. That was like the middle of the season. That wasn't, like the first or second game of the season like it always was before.
Right. No, absolutely.
Like I said, I think 2014 was the last time we played them the first or second week of the season. And then from 2014 to 2019, it was just here and there wherever they threw them. And then they stopped playing it all together.
Yeah, which is inexplicable. I don't understand why they've done that. So, and listen, you got to wait another 8 years before they reconvene. Yeah, that to me, they're doing college football a disservice in that regard. But hey, college football is going to keep moving along, and it's big and as popular as they've ever been right now. So I guess they say, we can wait for Notre Dame, Michigan into the next decade.
Rivalries don't matter anymore, man. With all the conference realignment and all that stuff, they don't care about that anymore.
No, I know, 100%. All right, let's see. Val, hoping 49ers beat the Browns. Myles Garrett, Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, we know about, I know all the pub for Shedeur Sanders enough. And then, yes, look at that. Happy 18 there from the misses. Then we have, yes, Tatsuya, King, Jackson, Rose, Weber. Oh, you forgot Juwan Howard. That was the last one.
I said Juwan Howard.
No, you did. No, absolutely. But I guess Tatsuya, he didn't get the last one. All right, so fishing because the Lions don't have their head in the game like they're supposed to. I don't know. Any thoughts about that, Jay?
Lions don't have an offensive line, man. That's what scares me and makes me nervous.
Yeah. I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking about the last game they had. Oh, the game in week 1. Oh, no, the last game you mean on Sunday against the Giants. I guess that's what Fishing is referring to. I'm sure she probably wrote that down here.
And they didn't. They got lucky. They won that game.
Oh, no. Yeah. I know we were back and forth on that, too, how they were trailing, and then Jameis Winston, of all people, and how he played. Yes, close game. They need to keep a game go blue. That's Zip. That's James D, by the way. I'm shouting him out. Let's see. Yeah, Jay. Oh, look at this. So Zip says, come on, Jay, let's roll to the big house. Jay Reels live. You can take college. Yeah, well, I'll take on college game day. How about that? Could you imagine?
Let's do it. Me and you. We'll take them on us together.
Yeah, and McAfee, too. We'll tell him that, hey, there's a new sheriff in town. Listen, I'd love to do that.
But he'll probably beat me up.
McAfee?
Yeah.
Well, listen, obviously we need to have more of a contingent if we wanted to, and obviously we have to have a set. I mean, we could do a whole.
It'll get us some views. Probably get us a few views, though.
Absolutely.
I'm joking.
No, of course. No, we're having a good time with that. But
I like McAfee. He cracks me up, and he reminds me a lot of you. He's real, and he speaks what he speaks.
Wow, no, I appreciate that, Jay, for you to say that. I mean, listen, no, thanks, thank you very much. And no, listen, and that's the only way to be, as we talked about several times. And not to talk about myself, but yeah, I mean, that's the only way. If I'm ever going to do this to an extent where it really becomes, and not to say I want it like huge, big, but big enough to where, hey, I have the following, sponsors, etc. Yeah, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm not doing this any different than what I've been doing it now for 7+ years, and especially doing these live streams now for 9 months. Yeah, that's not going to change. So, and I don't care how much money you're going to throw. Oh, we have to have you talk about this, or we have to have you talk about. Nope, I'm talking about what I want to talk about, and that's it. So, because sports isn't just the NFL and college football and even the NBA. I got to talk baseball. I got to talk hockey. Yeah, I mean, that's all there is to it. And, of course, by seasons, too, because it's not as if I want to talk baseball now, although maybe I'll talk about the trades with Tatsuya, the big baseball fan he is. But
Freaking blizzard just broke out here in Michigan.
yeah.
Yeah, it's snowing pretty good.
Oh, wow. And the crazy thing is, here in New York, right now, it is 59 degrees. So it's feeling like spring over here. But that's going to change tomorrow. It's going to be cold, and then into the weekend, it's going to be cold as 40s. I know when you hear the weather, they're talking about, oh, we got a cold front coming. It's like 40 degrees.
44 here, but we got like 30, 40 mile an hour winds today.
Oh, yeah, no, that's bone chilling. That's rough. Bio, big game on Thanksgiving with Detroit and Green Bay. Loser could find themselves as the last team out of the playoffs. NFC will have a team. Yeah, that is possible. Yeah, right. So you go win 10 games. And the thing about the Packers, as I said earlier,
the other day, I don't think 10, 11 wins in the NFC is a lock playoff team. Not at all.
No, exactly.
Close.
No, and the thing is about not the Lions, about the Packers is that because they had that tie, that benefits them because let's say they play Chicago and even if the Bears sweep them, but if they have a better record than the Bears, and especially if it's for the division, they'll win a division. So let's say they both end up with 11 wins, but because the Bears will be 11-5-1, or excuse me, the Packers are, let's say, 11-5-1, and the Bears are 11-6, the Packers will win the division, even if the Bears happen to sweep the Packers. And right, that could be a scenario where, let's say, the Lions get 10 wins, but for whatever the reason, they lose out on tiebreakers. And as the NFC right now, let me pull that up real quick. The NFC, where you
we're
have
behind the 49ers right now.
Yeah, and I think you're what, 8th in the conference, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
I know, which is crazy to think. All right, here we go. Let me pull it by conference. I don't want to buy just divisions. Yeah, Lions right now, 7-4. Niners still have their bye, which is the week after this. And so week 14, that's the last week of the byes. So, yeah, that's why that game tomorrow is enormous for the Lions. Not so much for the Packers because of that tie. And, yeah, they have the same amount of losses as Green Bay, as Chicago does as of right now. So, yeah, there's going to be a team, 10, maybe even 11, which is crazy, that may not make the playoffs. So
12 might not even be a guaranteed in the playoff in the NFC side.
Could you imagine 12? Oh my God. Let's see. If you have Rams, Eagles.
It might not. I mean, the teams keep winning that are there. You know?
Yeah, if you have, let's see.
12 win team might be the 7th seed. You know, the third wild card.
No, that's right. And the crazy thing is that with the Niners 8-4, and if they beat Cleveland as you'd expect, they'll be 9-4. And 3 of their last 4 games, I know they got to play home to Seattle. They go to Indy, I believe. They play in Indianapolis. They host the Bears. That's going to be a good game. Oh, their schedule's tricky.
Next to the Lions, the Bears have the most atrocious schedule left.
Yes.
It's not even close.
Yeah, and I don't even think that's why they're going to win a division in my eyes. Because, as I look at this schedule real quick.
It's brutal.
Yeah, at Eagles, then they go to the Packers. Browns at home.
They have the Packers twice, don't they?
They do. They have 2 and 3 weeks. So they have, obviously, the Eagles Black Friday, then at Green Bay, followed by home to Cleveland, then the Packers.
And then they finish with at home against the Lions. That's brutal.
Yep, and then they go to San Francisco after that. Yeah, that schedule is rough.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit above what the Lions have left.
Yeah, and we talked about this. I know the Lions play the Steelers the third to last week of the season. I'll pull up the Lions now.
What is it? Green Bay, Dallas, then the Steelers, then the Rams.
That's right.
And the Vikings and the Bears, if I remember right.
That's what you got. Yep. So Packers, Cowboys, at Rams, Steelers, at Vikings, at Bears. So those last 2 on the road in the division are going to be tricky.
And at the Rams, shoo.
Yeah. Yeah, and that game against the Vikings is on Christmas. 4:30, that's right. I hate that the NFL just takes the Christmas also. And they're going to do that from now to the end of time. But I've said my piece on that a million times over, so I'll spare everybody that. Let's see. Bio, 7 seed. And I tell you, that 7 seed, that's going to be fascinating because could you imagine if they have to go to Philadelphia? Or it could be the Rams too, if the Rams somehow, some way don't hold on to the 1 seed. Those teams are arguably 2 and 3 seeds, and they could end up being a 7 seed. So that's a good one there, Bio, because – and it's interesting because that's also the flip side there in the AFC because you could have a scenario where – I don't know about Baltimore. I think they're going to win a division, so they'll be a 4 seed. But you may have Buffalo and Kansas City at the bottom, let's say 5 and 6 for argument's sake, or maybe even 6 and 7, you never know. And they would have to go to either Denver, Indy, or New England. And those teams obviously are unproven. So I would like to see how that's going to shake up or shake down here over the next month. Well, more than that. We got 6 weeks left in the season. So, yeah, it's definitely heating up. And this weekend, obviously, there's going to be a lot of big games. So, I feel more of the games are tomorrow and Friday. Sunday, you have to just do 2 games in my eyes. But, yeah, so that's what we got there with the football, and even with college for that matter. So, yeah, Jay, I don't know if you want to stick around. I'm just going to go through a few other things as well as some housekeeping stuff at the end. So whatever you want to chime in, I could talk about a little bit. NBA, the baseball trade. I know I'll get to that with Tatsuya, I'm sure. So it's on you, man, if you want to stick around.
No, man, I think I'm going to check out. I got some medicine I got to go get from the pharmacy. And like I said, it's starting to look pretty shitty out here in Michigan.
Yeah, the snow, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up if we're done and get up there and get it before it gets even any worse.
No, I hear your cold. I call you cold day, I tell you.
Hey, whatever, man. Whatever.
No, it goes without saying. But listen, Jay, enjoy the game Saturday. I truly appreciate you spending almost an hour with me here talking about Michigan football, college football, etc. Enjoy. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Fishing Angel, the kids, your family, etc. And, yeah, even Bio showing some love here. Good appearance, J-Rod. Thank you so much. Obviously, we'll be in touch. Go Blue there on Saturday, and we'll see how this all shakes down here with the college football playoff after the weekend.
Yes, sir. Go Blue. Everybody, happy Thanksgiving, and always J Reels for the win.
Thank you, my man. You know, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for your support and Fishing Angel support, etc. So enjoy the rest of your day, and happy Thanksgiving, man.
She wanted to be with me, but like I said, she had priorities. The autistic teenager that she watches didn't have school, and she had to be over there. So,
oh no, understood, man. No, hey, obviously she has to take care of the priorities first. So totally understood.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jay.
All right. You guys take care. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, likewise, man. To you and yours, absolutely. That was J-Rod, my man. So good to have him on here and to be a part of this, which is always a good thing. Obviously, I had Bio on when we talk about the World Series. Of course, I've had Val. I still got to get James D on here, a.k.a. and Tatsuya. Listen, you want to talk Mets, I'll get you on here as well. So we could definitely do that somewhere down the road. All right, so now it's 20 after, which is good because I can segue to a few other things which are very important. And let me get to this. MLB, because NBA, it really isn't much to discuss. I know the Pistons are hot. I can't say that. The Pistons have been on fire 13 in a row. They go for 14 tonight against my Celtics as they are 15-2 of the conference. But I'll touch on the NBA because I want to get to this and a couple other things too. The trade the other day between the Mets and Rangers, I saw a lot of Met fans were up in arms over this. And there have been a few that actually liked the trade. And I guess I'm in the minority. And this isn't to say that Brandon Nimmo was trash, or that's not to say that, he's washed or this, or whatever. No, none of that. How I looked at this trade the other day where the Mets send Brandon Nimmo to Texas for Marcus Semien, the second baseman. And I'm sure by now you know the contracts, you know the ages, so on and so forth. But here's why I think this trade was big for the Mets. Yes, Gold Glove, second baseman. You pencil him in there for the next 3 years, fine. I get it that he's making $5 million more a year, which I believe the Rangers have sent to the Mets to offset that because Nimmo, although he's getting $30 million on the back end, because he still has 5 more years on his contract. And to me, that was one of the bigger moves besides what's going to happen on the field, which I'll get to. So it's twofold. Number one is that you don't have to worry about the last 2 years. Granted, yes, 3 years, $75 million for Marcus Semien, but after 2028, that's it. Where if you had Nimmo on the team in 29 and 30, his legs and feet are breaking down right in front of our eyes. He's not a good outfielder from a standpoint of speed as it's slowing down, and his arm, I've seen better arms on a chair, no offense, but it's a situation where with that, and then on top of Semien, knowing that the team defensively has to be better, and when you have him, Semien, and Lindor at second and short, now you got to get a center fielder, as we know, and can Francisco Alvarez stay healthy? Because he is a good backstop. It's not great. He's good. I think that that's going to be more of a plus. And he's had his injury history over the last couple of years, which is not good either. If you're someone who has the pom-poms out for Brandon Nimmo. But I like the deal, not only just from a fiscal standpoint, but even more so, I think Simeon's going to provide a little bit more, knowing that he's been on a championship team. Not to say he's going to come here and be a rah-rah type of guy, because you can say the same about Juan Soto winning a title in his first year there in Washington back in 2019. But I do think that Semien is a guy that will not only provide that defense that the Mets sorely need, and his offensive numbers I know have gone backwards, and it's not as if he's hitting in a bandbox there at Citi Field, but I think he's not expected to do a lot offensively. Where I think on Texas, because of Seager, and Adolis Garcia, they didn't really have a deep lineup. Now, it's going to be interesting with this whole Pete Alonso thing, because with his bat out of the lineup, then they're probably going to ask Semien to do more. Semien's going to probably bat sixth. I would probably say as high as sixth. I don't think they'll probably put him seventh. So you're not going to get a ton out of him. He's not batting near the top of the order. I don't know if they're going to experiment with that during spring training, but he's going to be more of a bottom third, if not right there at sixth. So how I look at it is that whatever he has offensively, unless he's going to bat 210 and hit 10 home runs, but if he bats 240, 250, and he hits 15 to 20 home runs, but as long as he's providing that Gold Glove defense, you take that. And I understand Nimmo's going to put up more power numbers, but you know how much of a liability he is in the outfield. So that's why I think this trade, despite Semien being a few years older, but less money as far as years go, and money overall. But yeah, I like the trade. Now, I wasn't doing backflips over it by any means, but I thought that was a significant trade to start off this offseason for this Met team that obviously needs to shake things up, considering how the end of last year took place. And then the other trade there, Sonny Gray to Boston. He goes from St. Louis to Beantown, where I know that Sonny Gray had a decent year. I mean, his ERA was over 4, but he did strike out a lot of batters and gave you 32 starts. And the Red Sox, they do need pitching. I know with Garrett Crochet, Brian Bayo, they have the young kid there. Can't think of his name. The one who pitched against Schlittler in the wild card. What was his last name? Early? First, I'm thinking like Connor Early. I know that's something along those lines. But now you bring in a guy who's a veteran, knows his way around the sport, and he's just another guy that's going to give you innings, which I think is important. You know, Sonny Gray's not going to go in there and go 15-7. So hopefully he gets 12-8, 13-10. Not great, but you don't want him to go 10-13 or worse, 7-15. So I like that trade for the Red Sox. But the Nimmo trade, I know a lot of Met fans, oh, he was an original Met. Oh, he was homegrown. Oh, he was the nicest guy. Oh, he was a team guy, whatever. No, all true. 100%. But he's not going to get any better. Just like you can say, well, Semien's not getting any better, but you'd have to deal with 5 more years on that contract. 5 more. So by the time you get to that 3rd year, maybe even 4th year, you've had enough of seeing Brandon Nimmo. And that's my point. So that's why I like the trade in that regard. Now, let me see. Comments. Fishing Angel, thank you. As always, much appreciate you. You know that. Thank you, Val. What we got here, there, bio. Up until last year, Marcus Semien only been hurt on the deal one time in his career. Yeah, he does play every day, but last year, didn't he finish the year? Didn't he have an elbow issue? I don't think he finished out last year. Yeah, let me look that up real quick. But no, he's a guy that's reliable. He's a guy that you know isn't going to miss a ton of games. And let's see. All right, he's not going to be 36 until September next year. So it's not as if he's going to turn 36 by, April 1st. So that's a plus. But let's see injuries. Yeah, because I know toward the end of last year, 127. Yeah, he had that left injured list due to left foot contusion, diagnosed with a fractured third metatarsal bone. Yeah, and the Lisfranc sprain, which that's dangerous. Yeah, so he was out the rest of last year. But no, he's a guy, 162 games in 2023, 2024. And of course, that was the year they won the World Series. Yeah, and he signed that deal 7 years, $175 million after the 21 season. So, and speaking of which, December 1st, I'm going to have to talk about that, which I'll get to in a minute when it comes to next week's schedule. But coming this Monday, which will be December 1st, the clock to Armageddon will begin on that day. And what that is, the collective bargaining agreement will expire a year from this coming Monday. Have there been any talks? Rob Manfred, smoke signals, hello? Tony Clark, and who's the other guy? I should know this. The lawyer on the player side who reps. Yeah, I know it's Tony Clark, but the other guy, he has a common name too. Let's see as I pull this up here. And funny enough, look at this. The current members of the executive subcommittee include association representatives like Chris Bassett, former Met, and Marcus Semien. Ugh. How that's going to go. Let's see. Who is the other guy? Tony Clark. Yeah, we know about him. Other representatives. I got to find out who that other guy is. He's a lawyer. It's like David something, right? Is that his name? No, not Matt Nussbaum. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that. But anyway, baseball's got to get their act together because the NHL, they got their CBA done rather swiftly, and they actually had until September of next year to get it done, and they got it done well before that. So can we take a page out of the NHL? Maybe Rob Manfred could call Gary Bettman to say, hey, how did you guys work that out? And, of course, the relationship. And funny enough, the former union, Donald Fair, is now hockey's lead guy. So think about that. But, yeah, we're going to wait and see what's going to happen there as we get closer. And I'm going to pretty much have a countdown when it comes to that as the days and weeks and months move it along. Let's see. Yes, Fishing Angel, thank you. Oh, wait, did I skip that? Thank you, Val. I feel like I'm lost here with this. All right, here we go. Stearns has to make a big splash in the outfield. Big wish Tatis, but if he does not fix the rotation, it's a lost cause. You're right about that, Jay. JD, somebody had said the other day, it was Evan Roberts. What if the Mets went after a guy like Lewis Robert from the White Sox? Yeah, I don't know. I like him. Yes, very good. Bio, you're on. Listen, you're on top of it. I know you're a kook like me. Everybody in here are a bunch of kooks, but yeah, and that's why I love it. Yeah, Lewis Robert I like, but yeah, just because the guys, they're not going to trade for Tatis. I understand that Steve Cohen has the money, but he still has, 9 years left on that deal? And that is, I think it's actually worth more than Lindor's deal. And it's crazy to even think this. Lindor is about to hit the halfway mark of his contract. 22, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will be the 5th of his 10th year forthcoming. And Soto's just getting started, as you know. So I don't think they would bring back Tatis because that contract is just going to be way too much. That's why I said a guy like Lewis Robert. And I'd have to take a look at the MLB landscape to kind of see, and a reasonable. I'm not going to try to take some young stud outfielder on another organization to think that we could get him for a bag of balls. But, yeah, the rotation. Now, I know it's risky, but there's a name that it's been discussed, but it's kind of now the fire has burned out. But would David Stearns start the ignition to see whether or not Sandy Alcantara is available? I wouldn't do that. I would try to take one of his other two pitchers in Max Meyer or Yuri Perez. And Perez already had Tommy John surgery. But they're not going to do that. I'd be shocked if the Marlins do that, considering for them they had a good year last year. But I'm going to take a look, considering that the winter meetings start a week from this Sunday. It's the following week. So I got to brush up on that to see who I would like to try to acquire. And maybe I could talk about that next week, as that's going to be my next segue in a moment as far as my schedule, etc. Now, let's see. So that's a good one, Zip. Yeah, I'll call you Zip because I see even though the J's there. And every time I see that name, I get taken to into a time capsule back in the early 2000s. Yeah, Tatis, but if not, yeah, but they got to get an upgrade in rotation. And who knows? Now you're hearing rumblings about maybe Kodai Senga getting traded. We'll see. People treating the Nimmo trade like a funeral. Oh, I know. And listen, I like Nimmo, and he was a guy that, yeah, but come on. No. I'm with you on that, Tatuya. The Noise being Padres are going to be sold and they want to clean house. Yes, that is true. There have been talks about that. So that could be, yeah, and they're going to want a lot. Jet Williams, Jonah Tong, yeah, they're going to want a king's ransom. But the thing is that my wheels are turning. If Steve Cohen said to AJ Preller, and it's not going to be Cohen, it's going to be David Stearns, the GM of the Padres, Preller, he said, we'll take Tatis off your hands. We're going to pay the entire contract, which would be nuts. But hear me out. But we're only sending you 2 prospects. We're not sending you a boatload of prospects. Or you'll take 50%, we'll take the other 50%, and then we'll give you prospects. I'm sure the Padres would take that, but I don't know if I want to do that. I don't want to give up 4 or 5 prospects for Tatis. And I know he's dynamic and et cetera, and he would be, forget it, he'd be beloved in this town because he's that guy that has the flair. He's not Lindor. He's not Soto from the standpoint of being brash, being flamboyant. I know Soto has the shuffle, but yeah, it only comes out when obviously he's in a groove. But you put Tatis here on this stage. Now, it could be boom or bust. He could flourish and he could be the talk of the town, or just like every other superstar that comes to this town, have his growing pains, get booed, doesn't run out of ground ball, misplays a fly ball, etc. And then, of course, remember, Tatis played with Soto in San Diego. That's not to say they got to be kumbaya and they got to be best of teammates, but how did that dynamic work? Where you're going to have Soto, Tatis, again on the same team, that alpha dog mentality, and oh, by the way, Lindor is the de facto captain of the team because who knows what's going to happen with Pete Alonso if he's going to come back or not. So, there's a lot to think about if you're a Met fan in that regard. So, although it sounds great, but there's a lot. Val, you don't watch college football? How come? And you live not too far from Stanford, so I would think that, not that you have to be a Stanford fan, but yeah, you know what I mean. All right, so let me get to these couple other things, 136. Now, I want to get to this first. I'm going to save that for last. Tomorrow, it's not even a critique. I should have checked that. As a matter of fact, let's do that right now. Can I do that on the fly? I can do that on the fly. I said critique video, but that is an error on my part, so my apologies there. So as I update this, tomorrow, you're going to have a new commentary video on the channel, 10 a.m. It's already scheduled. It's already in the bank. If you recall, I shared the video a few months back about sports being broken as far as just the landscape of the media and how all the clickbait and sources and who could you trust, and is sports media being broken, or is it broken, I should say. Well, now tomorrow's live stream, taking it from that same content creator, June Lee, formerly on ESPN, has a YouTube channel. It's Joon Lee, 2 words, June, then Lee. Now I'm going to explore his most, it's not recent, it's a few months ago, but the broken part of being a sports fan and watching sports. And I thought it was fascinating about what he said. There was a thing or two that I disagreed on, but there were a couple of things that I not only agreed with, but I also expounded on. And I think you'll dig it. It's a long-form video, and I don't critique it. It's just a commentary about it because, let's face it, watching sports in 2025, this is dangerous for me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's become a bit of a chore because of, as I've said a zillion times, the whole channels, streaming platforms, what time the game is on, what day the game is on. As it is, this weekend is perfect because you got the 3 games tomorrow, NFL, the 1 NFL game on Friday. Then you have obviously the full slate there on on Sunday, and the Monday night game. And that's not even talking about college football, where you got college football for days. So not only just from that standpoint, but also from the standpoint of the fan being priced out. And what can they do to, I'm not going to go as far as saying curtail it, but someone's got to give. Don't you think? But the genie's out of the bottle. So there are so many different tentacles about this video that I enjoyed and liked early that I think you'll get a kick out of. And especially with my commentary on top of it, and not to make it about me, but just me expounding on it and showing my passion and my vigor for what it is that I do and watching games, etc. Because let's face it, sometimes these games, not to say it becomes a chore or a slog, but right, you have to think for a second. Oh, wait, this game's on Amazon or is it on Prime? Oh, wait a minute, is it on NBC or is it on Peacock? Oh, wait a minute, is the Christmas Day games on Netflix? Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, it's easy as a sports fan. You're already going to know. But sometimes you just think, oh, yeah, the game's on ESPN. Oh, no, wait a minute. That's Monday night. What about Sunday? Oh, no, wait. So it can be confusing. So I get into that tomorrow on the channel, 10 a.m. Share with your family, friends, foes, frenemies. Please, I'd agree and implore you to do so. So I got that cooking there tomorrow. And I also want to throw this in there. I talked about this last week, and I know Tatsuya was over it. Speaking of Tatsuya, what do you got here? The biggest problem with sports, everyone cheats. Everyone cheats. When you say everyone, who are you referring to? Are you referring to the teams? Are you referring to the players? Are you referring to yeah, I'm curious. Well, the sad part is that that last sentence, you're 1,000% right. Vegas has too much influence. And not to say that they determine the outcomes of these games, although certain people are going to think that, and conspiracy theories, which I won't get into, because I'm not going to be naive and think that it's pure, that there isn't anything going on. But come on. You have to think there's going to be some integrity there, that they're just not going to throw these games, that they're just not going to have players not try or not put forth maximum effort or just tank. And, you hear that word and it gets thrown around a lot, but with the betting houses and how they're in bed with these leagues, and when you see what has gone on, whether it has been the likes of Terry Rozier or Emmanuel Clase or Luis Ortiz, and it can make anybody suspicious to think that, why should I follow sports? I mean, it's crooked, it's this, it's that. I can't trust it. And you have every right. And part of it does unpack that in the video tomorrow, a small part of it. But unfortunately, Vegas, and with all of the in-game betting and all of the DraftKings sponsors this, BetMGM sponsors that, oh, the NFL on CBS is sponsored by, I mean, it's just, you get beaten over the head with it. So therefore, anyone could be dubious as far as wanting to fully invest in watching sports or forget about gambling. I mean, that's a whole other situation. But that's why, although I'm not going to be naive or stupid, but because I don't gamble, I don't have that. I'm not jaded to think that, oh, well, every game there's a fix or every game is rigged or I can't watch it because of this. No, I would hope that there is some integrity, and I believe for the most part there is, unless you're going to have these rogue officials just come out of nowhere, a la Tim Donaghy. But yeah, I'm just more of a believer to think, despite the fact that what's ruining sports is having these gambling houses be a part of this. But even worse, that the owners, they're taking every last dime. The owners could be like, no, we don't want you guys to sponsor our league, etc. But that genie's long out of the bottle. Yes, Niners are third behind San Francisco, behind Seattle and LA. No, wait a minute. They may be tied with the, hold on, because they have the head-to-head advantage over the Seahawks by beating them in week 1. But right now, let me just double check. I should know that. Yes, the Niners are third because the Seahawks, they haven't had their, they've had their bye. The Niners haven't had their bye. So they're 8-4, where the Seahawks are 8-3. So that explains it. So that's what you have there coming tomorrow. So please keep your eyes peeled for that tomorrow on the YouTube channel. I'm referring to Ohtani cheats. Chauncey Billups, sports is a scam. I know, Tattoo, you mentioned about Ohtani because of the allegations, what was it, a couple of years ago with the translator. I don't think so. And I'm not trying to say that because I'm a Dodger fan or Ohtani fan. You know I'm not. But I'm not that I got anything against Ohtani, but I don't think he's betting against his team or betting baseball or football. Yeah, I don't think so. So true. You see a funny play or bad call by a ref and now fans. Oh, no, of course. No, but you know what gets me what makes me laugh even more, Zip, is that what was I watching the other day that a player went up to another player? What I was watching the other day was, Jimmy Butler, where a fan saw Jimmy Butler in a parking lot. I don't know, let's say like near Starbucks or something. And that guy approached Jimmy Butler, or take that back. He was in his car and he saw Jimmy Butler, I think, coming out of a store or Starbucks or something along the lines. And he yelled at him saying that, yo, you cost me whatever, $1,000 because I picked you to score 15 points that night. And because you only scored 12, I lost my bet. This is where you know that gambling is just taken over. And it's a disgrace. And thankfully, I don't gamble. I don't do any of that. So I don't have to approach any of these players at any given point to be like, hey, I had you on my fantasy team and you had 3 touchdowns. You're supposed to score a 4th one, and you didn't. You slid at the 5-yard line and let the time run out, and I could have gotten a parlay that would have paid me $30,000. I mean, please. If people have to go to players to whatever it may be, I don't want to go as far as saying curse at them or belittle them, berate them, then you got to find something else to do. I'm serious. Titans signed Khalil Elam, former Bills. Oh, that's right. And I want to go back to Tatsuya's comment real quick. Well, Chauncey Billups, that was a scenario where that didn't happen on the court. That was some off-site poker game where they had the whatchamacallit, they had it rigged for someone, let's say, to sit next to Chauncey Billups and pay him $50,000 or whatever it was. And then obviously they had all the fixed there with the cards, and they had like scanners and things of that nature. I mean, why would anybody do that is beyond me. And did he really need the $50,000? Sports is a scam. Listen. It's a scam in this regard. You're right about that, Tatsuya. You're right. But here's what the scam is. It's not what's happening on the playing field. Although you could question that. I get it. The scam is that the real fan, the true fan, the diehard fan, we're priced out. Listen, I could still go to a game despite my financial situation. But let's say if I really wanted to go to a game, I'd probably buy off the secondary market. And I understand I live in New York. So if I'm going to go see, let's say, the Lakers play the Nets, even that would be an expensive ticket. But it is the Nets. Whereas if the Lakers are going to the Garden to play the Knicks, forget about it. I won't be able to get in the building. Maybe Brooklyn Nets, maybe the cheapest ticket is, and even that's still a lot for me maybe right now. So that could be a bad example. But it's a thing where the average fan is so priced out, therefore the disconnect between the true fan and the team is a lot more noticeable. Because I used to go to games all the time. And I understand different era, different time frame, etc. But I would still look at it from a standpoint of, all right, well, I'm still going to go there to go see whomever. All right, Dodgers are playing the Mets. I understand it's a pricey ticket, but I'm not going to buy from the secondary market because there'll probably still be a few tickets remaining. And even if I sit upstairs in the upper deck and I spend, even if it's $40, all right, it's $40. Where now you got to go in the secondary market because Dodgers Mets are going to get gobbled up. And therefore, I'm going to end up paying $200 to sit in that upper deck seat. And that's where we get screwed. And it's sad, it's unfortunate, and watch that video tomorrow. You're going to get a real giant dose of how capitalism, I hate to throw that out there, but it's true, and how the sports fan, how can they even watch sports in this day and age? And it's not even watching sports by going to the game. It's even sitting at home and ways around watching games where you're not paying through the nose. That's where it's fascinating, and that's why you got to watch. Because I'm sure all of you that are on here today, you can relate to that. Because we know where these games are being played on, the platforms, etc., and how unless you're getting passwords from other people or you're streaming it illegally or you are paying through the nose for all these different streaming services, yeah, it becomes a chore. And you'd be surprised by a couple of my takes, too, when it comes to that. So that is tomorrow. But I hear you. In that regard, that's what sports is a scam there, Tatsuya, 100%. Try to get $1 million betting credit line or wire $50 million with no proof. Yeah, that's a joke. I mean, I don't know how the bank didn't. Yeah, that, to me, that's a joke. Yeah, I don't know how they do that because if it's you and I, there's no way. Like, hey, yeah, I'm trying to withdraw $100 out of Tatsuya's account. They're going to be like, oh, you're not Tatsuya? Sorry, this conversation is over. Click. End of story. But yeah, that is shady, sketchy. In that regard, it is. But I don't think Ohtani did anything as far as gamble or anything to that extent. That's just me. Zip. I don't know, Jay, with Ohtani, if it was a few thousand, but the millions, and he didn't know. Right. Here's the thing I would say about that, because I've heard stories, and not necessarily from other athletes. How can I say this? I knew somebody years ago that dealt with celebrities. And a lot of these celebrities, not all of them, I should say a lot. There were some of the celebrities that this person was dealing with, and he dealt with them from a transactional standpoint. And to give you an idea, they worked at a high-end, they worked for a high-end car brand. And, excuse me, because of that, you had a lot of celebrities going in there. Musicians, actors, actresses, some athletes, and they would go in there and they would still have to run credit checks, despite the fact that these guys were worth and gals were worth millions and millions of dollars. But they would also notice that a lot of these, I won't say players, but a lot of these people, their credit were awful. But because they were actors, because they were entertainers, etc., that all it takes was another movie, all it takes was another song or album, whatever, and they'll be able to pay it off. So the reason why I say that in this regard with Ohtani is that a lot of these people, they know that they have millions of dollars in the bank, but they don't know exactly how much. It's not like you or I that we're going to go to check our balances. All right, how much I got left? Oh, damn, I got $800. Oh man, what's going on here? Oh, yeah, that one has $2,000. These guys have so much money that they just look at it as like, oh, yeah, I know I got millions in the bank and that's it. And even though they entrust in somebody else to, let's say, manage their account, not to say withdraw, but let's say they manage the account. So in the case of that interpreter, let's say that maybe the interpreter had access, that maybe Ohtani beforehand said, yes, I have person X is an associate of mine. He manages my money. He's this, that, and the third. Therefore, I want to put him on my account as a guy that has the capability of accessing my account because he trusts that guy, because he feels as if, oh, this is somebody that I've worked with. He's my interpreter, whatever. And I don't know if that's the case, but because of these stories that I heard with this one person where even though they'd have to go in, all right, I want to buy this Range Rover, but I'm going to have my accountant or so-and-so get in contact with you because I want to pay half cash or whatever it is. So therefore, in this case with the interpreter, they have the access to say, all right, well, my name's on there. I can manage this, or I can move money from here to there. And in this case, I need $15 million to withdraw to pay off a debt, or maybe he took it out in increments, whatever it was. So it's not impossible, despite the fact that you do say there that many bankers come out and say there's no way to do those transactions over the phone. And Ohtani's entrusted these people, and obviously we don't know. Obviously we're not there, whatever. And I'm not trying to say that Ohtani is blameless here, but I don't think he's out there gambling. That's just my estimation. So, and right. Is it possible he has? I mean, anything's possible. But, yeah, I just don't see that. Yeah, the game last week, $30? Yeah. Now, the Celtics aren't the Celtics. It's not as if they were the team of last year, defending champ, where Tatum was healthy and they had everybody. But, no, I understand. I hear you, but I'm sure one of his accountants on his finance would be like, did you move $3 million? I know, and the crazy thing is, and you're right about that, Zip, and the crazy thing about that is $3 million to those guys is like $3. But, no, listen, I totally understand. I totally get it. And you're right. But, yeah, I guess there's always workarounds. And, yeah, how that one unfolded, yeah, I tell you. Asians love gambling. They do. You see them at the slots. I know my father goes to Atlantic City a lot, and he sees them, and they're always on there with the one-armed bandits. Oh, yeah, I agree with you on that, Bio, 100%. Without question. All right, so the last thing I want to get to, I got a few more minutes before I sign off. So let me get to where is it right here. All right, here we go. Early December podcast live streams. If you've watched any of my shorts this week, I had jury duty. Obviously, I can't talk about what's gone on. Now, here's the thing. Next week, right now, is up in the air. I'm scheduled to go back on Monday, but I also may go back on Friday for something else regarding the jury duty. But stay tuned to the channel, because with the way that this is unfolding here, I could be, not maybe, I could be out of pocket, but I will certainly do what I can to get a Monday podcast, maybe even reschedule the podcast pregame come Monday and even next Thursday. Because, yeah, right now, with the way my schedule is, it's going to be tricky. But I'm going to find a way. This past week, I said, it's a Monday. All right, no podcast pregame. Fine. But these next couple weeks, I'm going to have to manage. But I'll keep you guys and gals posted right here on the channel. If I'm going to talk about a particular thing in sports, I'll interject it with, and hey guys, for the podcast pregame or for the podcast on Monday or for even the live stream next Wednesday, that's also another thing that's going to factor in. And this could possibly affect next week, 1st through the 4th, and the following week, which would be the 9th through the 13th. So just keep that in mind as of right now. That could change, and I'm hoping it will change. So just keep that in mind. Just stay tuned to the channel as I'll inform you on what the latest and greatest is going to be as far as podcasts for next week and the following, as well as the live streams as well. And then the other thing I want to say, my podcast pregame, not tomorrow. It's going to be Friday. I should have updated that. I'm going to do one Friday. Yeah, it says Friday 9:30, but it says tomorrow here too. So you know what? You got to do better than that, J Reels. Come on. This isn't a rinky-dink, Humpty Dumpty type of live stream here. So now that that's updated, pow, let's go. Friday 9:30. Just to recap a little bit of the games tomorrow, and also just to forecast the weekend, whatever developments that happen in sports over the next couple of days. I'll do a Friday, not tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be a busy day cooking and traveling and things of that nature. Even though it's 9:30, it's early enough, but I don't want to be on for 10 minutes and sign off. I want to be on my usual half hour, 45 minutes, hour, whatever it may be. So I'll do that on Friday. But then again, I also have some stuff to do on Friday too, which is also imperative. But with that being said, let me get to these final comments here before I sign off. Yes, he is a champion, Bio. Absolutely. 2-time champion, as you well know. Jay's on a gambling case. Yes. Otani's not guilty, but God will judge Otani with karma. Oh, yes, karma does not forget an address. That I agree with you there, Tatsuya, 100%. It's all right. Or beat Judge last year. Yeah, and he's up 4-3 when it comes to MVPs too, so something to keep in mind. Well, that'll do it, my good people. Let me sign off as another live stream comes to a close. You know what's going on. You know what's happening. I thank you all for stopping by, taking precious time out of your day to listen to what it is I have to say about what goes on in sports. Thanks, J-Rod. Thanks to J-Rod, of course, for chiming in about his beloved Blue. Happy Thanksgiving to all. I'm not going anywhere. I know the next 2 weeks are going to be a juggling act for yours truly, but that's all right. I want all that smoke as we're going to get into the final month of 2025, and obviously big things lie ahead, and I'm working on some things which I'll talk about on next week's live stream as far as an anniversary live stream come March 1st. I got a lot cooking, people, and I can't wait to share it with you all here in the coming weeks heading into 2026. So with that being said, I see one more comment here. I want to get to that before I sign off. Joe Burrow is back, yes, tomorrow night. Looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully they'll beat the Ravens for my sake as a Steeler fan. So thank you for that there, Bio. But as you already know, or if you do or do not know, talking sports in the blood and the DNA from day one since birth. And I'm going to bring the passion, fire, energy, fury with my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on the world of diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to yours, from my heart to your soul, from where I am to wherever you are. The J Reels live stream always comes live, correct, direct, and in full effect. From the South Bronx, the South Beach, the South Central, the South Pacific, and all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. Enjoy with your family, friends, loved ones, etc. And until Friday on the podcast pregame, it won't be a podcast pregame, but it'll be just, you know what I mean. Until then, everybody, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Happy hump day. And as always, on the flip.